Today's story is about a hero of the early church, famous for his kindness. He is especially famous in Central Europe, and for very good reason. In fact, if you speak the English language, you have probably honoured his memory many times, without even realising it. Saint Martin of Tours was born in the 4th century. This is a period of time where Christianity is recently become legal, and Christianity is spreading, and Martin became a Christian as a very young boy. In his young adult life, he was a soldier by profession and would later go on to become a very good and holy bishop. St. Martin's Day is one of the biggest days on the calendar in many Central European countries. It is marked by festivities, traditional foods, wines, and lantern parades. At a period of time in which Europe is experiencing the arrival of winter, of cold, and of darkness, St. Martin's Day is a day to celebrate light and warmth. In Commonwealth countries like Australia and England, 11th of November is our Remembrance Day, where we remember the fallen in the wars, and I find it quite appropriate that it is a day that coincides with the memory of a holy soldier. One of the most famous stories of Martin of Tours, that is my favourite story, involves his cloak. As a young man and as a soldier in the army, Martin was going between cities. It was the onset of winter, things were getting colder, and he didn't arrive in time at his destination, and the city gates had been shut. Martin would have to spend the night outside. By the road, he saw a beggar trying to build a fire in the cold. Martin went over to join him. He helped him build the fire, and as nightfall came, Martin realized that the poor man would likely freeze unless he did something about it. Martin cut his cloak in half. A cloak was like a blanket. You wore it as a cape, but it was also a very thick and warm blanket. These things were not cheap. They were quite good value and very important to a travelling soldier. So for Martin just to take out a sword and without thinking about it that much, cut it in half, he gave one to the beggar and kept one for himself for the night. It was quite a big action that he probably didn't think of as that big. That night, as Martin slept, he dreamt. And in his dream, he saw Jesus, and Jesus was introducing Martin to the angels. And Jesus said, "This is Martin. He is a friend of mine. He gave me this." And Jesus was wearing the half cloak that Martin had given the beggar. When Martin woke up, the beggar was gone. His cloak was as if it had never been torn, and Martin sat there by a burnt-out fire, realizing what he had done the night before just by being kind. Not long after that, Martin would leave soldiering. He went full-time into Christian ministry and became a bishop that was renowned and respected by everyone who knew him, because he was kind, he was good, he was giving, and he was strong in his faith. It wasn't an easy life for him. He had to contend with the heresy of Arianism and was a strong defender of true theology. But he lived into his 80s and is remembered across the world. An interesting thing happened to Martin's cloak. Now, humans like souveniring things. We like going to museums to see famous artifacts, and we like visiting cities to see famous landmarks. You know how it is. And a cloak is a very easy thing to break up into little pieces and show lots of people. It was a story that was able to be interacted with in that sense. A story of relationship with Christ, of goodness, of sainthood, and what it is to be a Christian. So these little pieces of cloak would travel all over the place and were often placed in churches. Some were placed in small buildings on the sides of churches, some were placed in little buildings in the countryside away from the bigger churches, and these eventually became named after the cloak. They were named after the medieval Latin word for cloak or cape, which was capella, and this is where we get the English word for chapel. There were travelling priests that would go between these chapels and stay there and give education and wisdom and spiritual support to people that would visit. These priests eventually became known as cape wearers, or capellani, from which we get the word chaplain. And so in the English language we have these two words, chapel and chaplain, that are really words that we use to, knowingly or unknowingly, honour the memory of Martin of Tours. And so in these two words, the legacy of Martin lives on in the English language, and his legacy lives on in many countries in Europe. His story, particularly this little one, is a perfect example of what Jesus said, "As much as you do for the least of these, you do for me." Martin didn't know he was giving half a cloak to Christ. He just was giving half a cloak to a poor man. And that's something we need to remember, is that what we do for the least of these, what we do for those people in need, is something that we do for Christ. For those in countries in Europe that are about to celebrate St. Martin's Day, I hope you have a wonderful time. But for all of us, for the rest of us, I hope we remember Martin when we next see a lantern, when we next see a chapel. And I hope we remember Christ and Martin's example of serving him the next time we see someone in need. Thank you very much for watching. Martin is one of my many favorite saints. We will put some links in the description to some recipes that are traditionally made in countries on St. Martin's Day, things like that. In terms of tea, I am drinking a tea that has been inspired by carrot cake. So it actually has bits of carrot in it, and black tea, and I think there was hazelnut in here. And it's not bad. It's quite strange because it actually does taste like liquefied carrot cake. So, yes, I'm enjoying it. Cheers. Until next time.